Right, we're on another one of our recces for this oncoming grand extravaganza, this documentary on the local history of Great Baddow, and we're at Pleshey Castle. Now then, we can't actually go in without booking an appointment to do so, but Pleshey Castle was was where the Lord of the Manor, who ran Baddow and all such areas, lived. And these were originally the Mandevilles, and then they became the de Bohuns. Bohun is a place in France, so they're related to guys that came over with William the Conqueror, and I do believe an ancestor of the de Bohuns fought at the Battle of Hastings. And so we're in the rather picturesque little village of Pleshey, and this is the castle, or what we can see from it from here. Let's turn around. This is the moat, and for the water. And here's the gate to the area. Oh, that's interesting. That's the motte, as they called it, of the Bailey, I assume, or is it the Bailey of the motte? Anyway, it used to be a wooden palisade up there rather than a big concrete construction, and then it became a series of buildings over the years. It became a centre of literary excellence, so Middle English. I do believe it was a bunch of Benedictine monks that came here, were commissioned by Humphrey, or one of the many Humphreys. I think it was sort of like Humphrey the 10th or 11th or something of the Bohuns, and he commissioned these guys to write psalms and little legends, stories and such like, and the manuscripts are all rather ornate, and where they're kept I do not know. This is all stuff that I've just picked up from footnotes in my researches, but something like that I shall do a little bit more research for this documentary, because the reason why I came across this guy was because he was the man, or should I say the family, were the people who were running the place when Hugh de Baddow, who's the guy who put the bad in Baddow, as I keep saying. This was his lord, and he had to serve in the 100 Years' War for this guy, and he fought alongside him and deeply resented it. After the war, he came back to Britain and set about raiding all of de Bohun's deer parks, and generally being a damn nuisance to the land. Hugh Bohannon, do you think is any relationship to the Bohuns? So where are we? What are we doing? Where are we going? Why am I up at this time in the morning?
For some people, this time of the morning is halfway through the day, but it's 11:15, and we have an 11 o'clock booking for a tour around the Moot Hall in Malden.
The what hall?
Moot Hall.
Moot Hall.
Moot, M-O-O-T.
Right,
Moot
okay.
Hall in Malden.
And that used to be the town council?
I believe so, but
right.
That's why we're here, to find out more about it.
Now, that's
Google Maps, right?
That's just what you want to go down in history for being, isn't it? The Fat Man of Malden. Right, apparently Edward Bright, 1721 to 1750, was famous for being the fattest man in the world. Needless to say, he died at the age of 29, weighing 44 stone. And what does it say? So I'm reading. Well, apparently there was a bet made about how many men could fit inside his coat. Apparently 7 could. So there you go. That's what he's famous for, being the fat man of Malden. And a greengrocer. That's just what you want to go down in history for, isn't it? Seems appropriate that the fattest man in Malden has had his place turned into a restaurant. Yeah, there's the Moot Hall.
So yeah, this door in particular is believed to be original to the building, although the opening has been modified probably in 1836 when the prison yard was created. And the door has been turned upside down at one point, we're not sure why, but this graffiti is upside down, so they switched it for some reason. And there's the cellar down there. So again, as I said, this prison yard was constructed in 1836 after inspectors turned up to look at the prison here. They said, this is the worst prison we've ever seen. There's no toilet, no sanitation. You just shove people into the cells, multiple people in one cell at one time. And their response was, all right, we'll build them an exercise yard so they can stretch their legs and have a toilet in the corner, which is just there. So there was probably some kind of timber framework originally to keep the prisoners in, but the wall got steadily higher, which you can tell from one of the different types of bricks that have been used, because prisoners were able to scramble over and get away, so they just made the wall higher and higher. Now graffiti is visible on many of the bricks around here, and there are numerous dates, names and locations given. And this graffiti has become part of an ongoing project called Project 600, where other colleagues are looking at these names and comparing them to court records from the period held in at the Essex Records Office, just seeing what stories can be taken from them. There are a few names that have been written more than once. Amy up there in particular, I think is written around there as well. So some people were imprisoned here more than once, and some of the writing is very elegant. Would I like to head up here? spiral staircase commences. Right.
Am I guilty?
You're a clerk or a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
That's dog was for the defendant. So before this room was a courtroom, I think we're pretty sure it was Robert Darcy's kind of wow room, really, when he would bring people to this part of the mansion. Again, it was to show how much money he got. And in 2006, that trefoil decoration was it looks ecclesiastical, but it's not. It was a secular building, and it might even be the first time that that sort of design was put into a non-religious building. So, yeah, it's another aspect of the Moot Hole that's unique. So the crucial year surrounding this courtroom is 1810, because it was then that the charter was restored to Malden, and connected to this restoration of Malden was Freeman. So Freeman existed in old boroughs during this period, and through the charters they enjoyed a number of privileges, including they were the only ones who could vote at parliamentary elections. But in 1768, following the illegal election of bailiff, which was just the tip of the iceberg of Malden's local political corruption, the charter that we saw downstairs from 1171 had been revoked. So that meant that no new freemen could be admitted, but by 1806, the number of freemen in Malden was dwindling. So there was a real this was the jury room, which is self-evident. After the trial, they would come in here and decide guilty or not guilty for the defendant. The wood panelling of this room dates from the 17th century, and the overmantel appears to be original, although the fireplace below it isn't. That's from the early 20th century. So artefacts in this room include the original handbell of the Borough of Malden, and this would end with instructions for the opening and closing of court proceedings. And the heavy iron light fitting here is a converted gas light, but the Moot Hole was one of the first buildings in Malden to convert to electricity, and it was provided by cable from the generator at the Sands Timber Works, where offcuts and sawdust were burned to generate the power. And here is another of the wedding.
Oh, I knew. Okay. So, how many times has the mayor fallen over his robes going up and down those steps?
Quite a few times, same with the councillors. There was a tradition that if you got up those stairs going drunk, you were a proper councillor. So again, the council chamber was laid out in its current form in 1810, again as part of the renovations. Now in earlier times the chamber was used as the borough armoury, and the top table here is known as the Alderman's table. It's been identified as a Tudor draw-leaf table. It was possibly built to order for I think that might be Southend in the distance, so you can see a big chunk of Essex from up here.
Yes.
Because that's about half an hour, 40 minutes away by car. So.